Just because I poke fun of the stories and or fan art in my videos does not mean that the creators of these things deserve harassment. Cyberbullying is a lot more serious than you think, especially since it sometimes leads to self-harm and or suicide. Please pick your battles wisely. That means do not harass any of the creators of anything featured in my narrations. Thank you. Hey guys, what is up? This is Gothcat bringing you the extremely short notice season finale of the Crappypasta show. Now, before I begin, I would like to thank everyone for 69 subscribers, What it may seem a bit slow in comparison, but you also have to remember I lost a bunch of really old subscribers from back in my portfolio channel days, so it's a pretty huge improvement. I know it's going to fluctuate a little bit because of said old subscribers, but anyway, thank you for everyone who newly subscribed and everyone who subscribed previously, so let's get on. In today's episode, I will be reading a Crappypasta classic, Charlie the Killer. The very classic self-insert romance fan fiction involving Jeff the Killer and their personal OC. Yeah. Okay, now without further ado, enjoy the show, guys. Jeff is nearly 18 now, and meeting Jane the Killer was a big thrill for him as she died a tragic death from falling down the stairs, but this didn't stop his psychopathic ways. Charlie was going through a rough bullying stage at school and was beginning to get depressed and hearing voices on her head. They were telling her to do stuff. She just put them to the back of her mind and carried on with getting shoved in lockers and beat up in the girls' bathroom. She heard the voices screaming at her until one day she snapped and listened to the voices in her head and pulled out the copper piping from the wall and stabbed her boy to death, then licked the blood off the pipe. She leaned near the boy's body and whispered, "Now you know how I felt when you called me ugly and said I was too fat to meet anyone who liked me, and that I was a whore who should kill myself." After she realized what she had done, ran away. She didn't feel bad about this. Actually, she was quite glad. She wanted to do it more. So Charlie went out. She killed more people just because she liked the feeling of knowing she wasn't in fear anymore. Charlie was never a mean girl. She'd always just sit there and take the crap. She had beautiful eyes with brunette hair, but she started wearing really dark makeup and dyed her hair black. She'd read the Jeff the Killer stories and looked further into this as Jeff was her inspiration. She went on and started doing what Jeff did. She used to say, "Don't go to sleep. I want you to feel the pain I went through." Then she would pull out their guts and burn them in their own stomach acid, watching as blood would fly everywhere. Charlie became the talk of the town. One day, she went on a search for Jeff the Killer. She looked everywhere, hoping that one day they'll meet. Charlie finally met Jeff. Jeff looked at her. He didn't say a thing. His eyes were locked onto hers. He walked up to her and brushed her hair behind her ear and kissed her on the cheek. Charlie blushed and questioned Jeff. "Why do you like someone like me? I'm just a fat, ugly whore." Jeff looked down on the floor and then looked up at Charlie again. "You're the most beautiful person I've ever met, and you're not fat, ugly, Whore, Jeff spoke. I think we should be together, as I've heard a lot about you, and I was fascinated. Charlie started blushing as Jeff grabbed her cheek and brought his lips close to hers. She pushed away. Why do you push me away? Don't be scared of me. Please? Jeff said as they stood down an alley in the rain. Jeff, you don't know what I've been through. All I do is push people away. Charlie whimpered as tears started streaming down her face. I will always love you, no matter what happens, Jeff said, wrapping his arms around Charlie. I have the urge to kiss you, but I feel as though if I do that, you'll just leave me. My father left me after violently beating me and my mother. I don't want to fall in love with you, as then I'll have to trust you, and I don't want to end up killing myself like my mother. Charlie began to explain. I will never hurt you. You're the most precious thing to me. I've been waiting to meet you as soon as I heard about you. After being with each other for 2 years, Jeff decided it was time that Charlie and him should get married. Charlie? Jeff leant down on one knee. Will you do me the honors of becoming my wife? Jeff opened up the case to see a gorgeous ring with little diamonds going around the edge. Yes! Charlie squealed in joy. Yes, I will marry you! As tears of joy streamed down both of their faces, they went back home. A week before the wedding, Charlie sits down on the bottom of the bed and begins to cry. What's wrong? Jeff curiously asks. I'm pregnant! Charlie cries. What? Jeff says surprisingly. I'm 13 weeks pregnant. I was gonna tell you, but I don't want to make a big fuss and then we lose it. Charlie, this is great news! So, this is my review of Charlie the Killer. I mean, let's face it, there's a reason why Charlie the Killer is such a Crappypasta classic, you know. It's because it embodies one of the most enduring parts of a Crappypasta, and that would be its silliness. Basically, it is so stupid, so mind-blowingly crazy that it's funny. Why? Because this is a love story about an OC Mary Sue and that, and Jeff the Killer romancing instantly, and I think the whole killer background was just thrown in to set up her character in the most disconnected way possible, and it just leads to a Mary Sue love story. One thing that you guys probably didn't notice is that there are a handful of very subtle spelling and grammatical errors, like quote-unquote voices on her head, and using the wrong version of died. Then it does go occasionally slightly choppy. For example, she didn't feel bad about this. Actually, she was quite glad. She wanted to do it more. That could have been put into less than 3 sentences, maybe like 1 or 2 sentences. But mostly the writing is sound-ish. Still wouldn't pass in an 8th grade level, but yeah, I think the main flaw of the story is the concept. It's basically just a self-insert romance fantasy, and it's that exact concept that makes Charlie the Killer such a Crappypasta classic. Moving on to next season, expect the season 2 premiere to come out sometime in October. As for my next video, I will be doing a surprise shock narration, I'm going to be starting on a shock narration, which is not only so long that I'm gonna make it its own series, it's also gonna be so shocking that the majority, if not the entire series, is gonna be age restricted. So if you're over 18, get ready for that shit. This is GothCat signing out. Thank you and goodbye.